Hello, so in today's video we just wanted to explain a little bit more about what a 3D mockup is and how they're used and really what we make them for. So we recently created this concept brand by the name of Muse. Muse creates and sells 3D mocktails, and as part of this brand we decided we wanted to create some concept packaging for a make your own mocktail kit. So we created Muse because we wanted to add some variety to our portfolio. The reason why we'll sometimes create concept brands is varied. The main reason for this really is just to showcase what we can do for potential clients, and also just to add the work to our portfolio as well. Also, some clients would really prefer that we don't use the work we create for them for our portfolio, usually just because these products might not be released yet and they'd rather keep them under wraps and not show them to the public. So concept brands like Muse allow us to showcase our creative abilities more than some client work sometimes. So brands will often need 3D mockups for their packaging, just to visualize the packaging before manufacture, or as a form of marketing and advertisement. Mockups pretty much are used almost by every single company these days, or at least ones that sell an actual product, whether it's digital or physical. Most of the time you'll likely not even realize that an advert you're seeing is entirely 3D. You'll most often see these with beverage companies, cosmetics, and skincare companies, for example. Also furniture manufacturers and architectural firms will use a lot of 3D. IKEA is a fantastic example. I think at least half of all their product displays on their website and advertisements are 3D. Main reason for this is just because it's cheaper. Benefits of 3D mockups is that generally it costs a lot less than actually hiring a professional photographer to come and take the photos, create a set, or to actually hire out a set as well. So when we work with an actual client, we always like to start with a conversation about exactly what the client's looking for and what they expect from us. This stage really is just perfect for us to learn as much about the client's brand and product as possible. This way we can sort of have the best understanding of the overall image, make sure that our work reflects that, so that our work can seamlessly fit in with their website and other marketing materials as well. We'll also discuss product duration and deliverables and cost at this stage. Main reason being it's just important for us to get all this information out and in writing, and most importantly agreed to by both us and the clients right at the beginning. This way we both have a clear idea of what we're working towards and prevents any potential misunderstandings. Also, our clients may not always have much experience with or the exposure to the kind of work that we do, so we just like to also take this time to explain how we work and maybe how that could affect delivery times and cost. So once we've decided on a project with the client, or once we have concepted up or created the initial idea and concept for our concept brand, we always like to start with reference images of the product we want to create. In this case, there's a lot of reference available for this cardboard cylinder packaging that we created for Muse. This package is essentially just going to contain a create your own mocktail kit, and we've already created a design for this, and we're going to use this mock-up to actually add that design to it later in Photoshop. That's one of the steps. We'll create the mock-up first in Maya, typically starting with the product model itself, and then we'll create backgrounds for that and render it out, put it into Photoshop, and then add the design onto it later on. Typically, if we're working with a client, they'll just provide the reference for us. The type of reference you get from clients can really depend from client to client. Sometimes, if this is a 3D project, we might receive some very, very basic 3D models or CAD files, just as a starting point for us to work off of. We would never use those as final models. They're not always in the best shape, but they get us some of the way there, or at least they can be used for scale and just general proportions. We may also just receive images. A lot of the clients we work with will just send us pictures. Sometimes they won't always include every single angle of the product, so we kind of have to find some more reference ourselves, or kind of guess, or just talk to the client and ask them for more reference if they have it. That's something we find quite important, is to constantly be in touch with the client and ask questions when we have them, just to prevent any issues from arising later on. In this case, because this product we're creating here is actually for our concept brand that we're creating ourselves from scratch, we'll typically just use websites like Pinterest and Unsplash for high quality, high resolution, and varied reference images. Pinterest is a website we use a lot, particularly for finding reference for our concept brands, but also just for inspiration as well. we'll often create mood boards with reference we found on Pinterest for various different projects, regardless really of what it is. So once we have all our reference gathered or received from the client, we'll then go ahead and create a one-to-one photorealistic 3D model of the product. Once we have that, we'll then create also realistic materials. These sort of go hand in hand if you're not too familiar with 3D. Creating the model is almost like just creating the shape, if you like. If you imagine a car, but it was just completely grey, or like a car without the paint. So we then create that base without the paint or the material in this case, and then we go and create the materials as well. And it's very important they're realistic and they react realistically to the light as well. You know, it could be various different materials from metals to stones to woods, and they all react to the light differently, and it's very important that we get this down as much as possible so the mock-up looks as realistic as possible. The reason why this particular piece of packaging here for our concept brand is plain white is just that white works really the best we found as a good base to add our packaging design to. Once we get it in Photoshop, we'll be using various different layer styles to apply designs onto the model, and white is just a very, very good base color to add basically any color on top of. You can make it brighter, you can make it darker, you could make it vibrant red, all quite easily, and it's much, much easier to edit the mock-up using white as a base color as opposed to like a much darker color or a vibrant color. So once we create the main product model, we'll then go and also create a background. The background really can vary. If we're working with a client, they may want something quite simple if they're going for a minimalist look, or they may want something a lot more complicated. It really quite depends. We've worked with clients creating mock-ups for a skincare brand where they needed kind of somewhere in between a nice background with various different wooden pedestals and some nice interesting lighting and different reflective elements in the background just to create visual interest. But then we've also worked with a client to create a skincare product in a glass bottle, and the background for that was just plain white with some nice shadows, lighting and materials. So it really depends. In this case for Muse and this product here, this packaging, we're going to be creating quite a nice complex background of a actual physical mocktail bar. It's non-alcoholic, so it won't have all the different bottles you'd expect to see, but it will look much like a bar when we're done, and that we feel will really help complement this mock-up and push the realism and the quality as well. And that's what we'd like to provide to our clients as well, depending on what they're looking for. So yeah, in next week's video, we're going to go over how we create our backgrounds, how we gather reference for those, why they're important, and how we discuss this with the client. If you weren't already aware, we specialize in creating these photorealistic 3D mockups. If you'd like to work with us on your brand, please do feel free to get in touch. We've included a link to our website and our contact email in the description as well. So thank you very much for watching.